show.
Fat Joe said that.
Fat Joe's a
Lean back.
We've been leaning back for 20 years, man. Like,
He said you crowned yourself the rat leader and you wrote the 48 laws.
6ix9ine pulled up for an interview with the Dancer Project, and things got tense real quick when the host brought up Fat Joe's old comments about him. 6ix9ine didn't waste any time responding. He addressed the topic directly, and the way he broke everything down had everyone watching with wide eyes. I even double-checked some of the interviews and references he mentioned, and the things he brought up are definitely out there online and circulating in past discussions. But before we dive into all the chaos, we need to rewind and look at what Fat Joe has been saying about 6ix9ine over the years, because he hasn't really let the topic go. We're talking interviews from 2, almost 3 years back, including that moment on Mav Hoffa's show where Fat Joe used some harsh language towards 6ix9ine, and it didn't end there. Even just last month, Joe was still touching on the topic like there was unfinished business.
For sure, how did you feel after warning Tekashi? Because I saw it when you sat with him. And I was like, Joe is trying to put him on right now, and I don't think
just
he's
be
getting
honest
it.
with you. Damn, you went there?
Yeah, I went there.
This is a sucker. He's a sucker of.
So let me get
Okay.
pop another bottle in there.
Nah, I ain't drink. I'm dead sober.
Crazy. Talk, man. Yeah.
No, I'm dead sober. This dude here, this type of shit, this doing, I'm convinced he wanna die. I don't wish it on him or nothing like that, but I'm convinced he's miserable in his body. He can't look in the mirror. Nah, I don't know if he got him. He's a lot of
He just got knocked.
So now the man snitch, right? Cool, do you or whatever.
How did you know that?
I don't like the taunting. I try to tell him, like, what happens? Like, yo, bro, listen, I didn't know if he really did it. I didn't know what was going on. The crazy shit is when I talked to him in that interview, I talked to him off the air, and he lied to me and told me, yo, this is just an image, I'm fronting this and this and that. He told me that in front of Shotty and them. They were standing right there with him.
He said what?
Joe. He
This is
told me
just
that
an
he was
image.
lying.
He's an image.
Yo, Joe, I'm not really doing this. I'm not a gangster. You know, this is all for like promotion. I got it. At that point, I said, so you're not doing nothing because you're gonna go to jail if you're really doing stuff.
Right.
Nah, Joe, I don't do nothing. I'm good. So I'm.
Let's be honest. Whenever people bring up the word rat in hip-hop conversations, 6ix9ine's name is usually one of the first that pops up. Whether people agree with that label or think the comparisons are unfair, he became one of the most talked about names connected to loyalty conversations in the modern rap era. His name, for better or worse, became symbolic in these debates. During that Mav Hoffa interview, Fat Joe used the term AP and another disrespectful nickname while explaining that he felt frustrated because he had warned 6ix9ine about the possible RICO consequences before everything happened.
Yo, what's the event in hip hop that broke the camel's back? Pause. To make it to where you could snitch. And if you make good music or something, you could still live out here in hip hop. Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back in hip hop where we had a code and there is no code no more? There just isn't no code no more. And what do you think is the event that, you know, I remember growing up, even if you was fronting, you wasn't a real gangster, but you was spitting gangster rap shit. You wasn't with the rats like that. Right now, this
too many of them.
Sold out concerts.
I don't think you can escape them. Because they all around. They're like New York City rats. Humans. It's rats everywhere. You know? Everywhere is everything, you know.
Too many Fredos, not enough Michaels.
That's a fact.
You know, some of these guys got to take a boat ride, never come back. Sammy the Bull is the most famous rat on the earth. Sammy the Bull. Then you came Alpo. Guy everybody looked up to, charismatic, Harlem fly, Louis Vuitton, this, that, Toll. He did that, right?
Shout out to Wayne Perry and Wayne Perry Jr.
Then, in hip hop, the day 6ix9ine sat on that stand.
Yo.
No! You remember, if you're watching the story, they taking him to court in bulletproof vests. They acting like he was telling on El Chapo. He put a lot of good people in jail, man.
No, we gotta put him away till his time.
Yo,
my feeling is gonna get close.
You feeling
I
this?
feel his time has come. I feel his time is gonna be soon, though.
You don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Does it not matter no more? And I believe 6ix9ine, when he gave guys 20 years in jail. All the guys he was like, oh, but he fucked my wife. Oh, but he did. That means nothing. There's a man that works in a bodega that never been a criminal in his life, see some shit he won't tell.
That clip still circulates today and continues fueling the tension between them. And when the storm finally hit, everything spiraled fast. Once the pressure came crashing down, the whole situation became something nobody could fully control. And honestly, when someone reaches their 40s, peace usually starts to matter a lot more than pride. Most people don't want to keep up unnecessary drama forever. Even the host said, "You're gonna get me in trouble for sure," before asking what Fat Joe felt after trying to warn Tekashi, because in that interview, it really seemed like Joe was trying to guide him. The vibe was clear. But still, even if Fat Joe was asked about the situation repeatedly, there eventually comes a point where constantly bringing it up and calling somebody out of their name becomes extra baggage that doesn't help anyone. 6ix9ine made it very clear he wasn't trying to disrespect Fat Joe for no reason. He said, "He didn't snitch on me and he didn't snitch on anyone I know." But then he pointed out something deeper. He mentioned that Joe had talked about warning certain people in the past, and according to 6ix9ine, those same people continued letting things happen around him anyway. That observation caught a lot of attention online. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Fat Joe has often positioned himself as someone who speaks strongly about morals, loyalty, and street principles. His public stance on being anti-rat has been a big part of his identity in these discussions. However, those comments were made years ago, and since then, 6ix9ine has responded a few times as well. But recently, just last month, Fat Joe brought the topic back up again, as if the conversation had never stopped. Fat Joe told Jadakiss that he once stayed up late thinking about who sparked what he called the snitching epidemic in hip-hop, and he pointed towards 6ix9ine. But that raises a bigger question.
I'm not even gonna lie, you're a captain of the cap. Like, nobody believe, even your co-host who's Jadakiss don't believe you. Every time you say a cap, that like, but like I said, you're gonna go.
Flag, like
and
flag on the play.
And my next song, I even say, I be spitting so much facts that I make jokes to distract. That's the next bar in my song.
What does any of that have to do with the music itself? 6ix9ine hasn't been delivering big hits lately, and his new releases haven't been connecting the same. Even the previews aren't hitting the way they did before. He had his moment when his loud, chaotic style dominated the charts, but that era moved on quickly. Someone even asked online, what moment in hip-hop changed the culture to the point where someone could snitch, and as long as they made good music, they could still exist in the culture? That question sparked a huge debate. But really, this whole snitch conversation has nothing to do with music charts. If most hip-hop listeners aren't living street lifestyles, why apply street rules to artists whose audiences have no connection to that world? Many fans, across races, backgrounds, and locations, didn't grow up in high-risk or street environments, so why should the expectations of the streets dictate the entire music genre? Hip-hop is entertainment, not a courtroom drama. Walk into any rap concert today and look around, you'll see every type of person from every kind of place. Depending on the artist, the crowd might be extremely diverse, and sometimes the majority of the fans come from totally different environments than what the music describes. Take a massive show like Drake's, the crowd is packed with fans who never lived in street situations at all. That's how far hip-hop has expanded. So why expect rappers to follow strict street rules when most listeners don't live by them? It doesn't make much sense. But that's still one of Fat Joe's biggest issues with 6ix9ine. He believes 6ix9ine broke codes that he sees as central to hip-hop. So when 6ix9ine finally responded, he flipped the conversation in a way nobody expected. Most people who get labeled a rat try to deny it or defend themselves. But 6ix9ine didn't run from the topic. Instead, he highlighted what he sees as inconsistencies. Fat Joe publicly talks about honor, integrity, and street values. But 6ix9ine questioned whether Joe always lives by those same standards. And that's when he brought up Big Pun's son, a topic that always sparks huge reactions online. 6ix9ine mentioned this not as a direct attack, but as an example that many fans have discussed for years. According to 6ix9ine, and according to various interviews from Poon's family over time, there have been claims and public statements suggesting they felt unsupported after Poon's passing. These claims have circulated in the hip-hop community for a long time, and different people interpret them differently. This is why 6ix9ine referenced Pun's son, because that situation has been part of online conversations for years. often brought up by fans who questioned whether things were handled in the best way. And once 6ix9ine mentioned Big Pun's name, the internet lit up again. Big Pun is a certified hip-hop legend, so any discussion surrounding his family automatically becomes a sensitive and highly emotional topic. In the clip, 6ix9ine said, "You're talking about morals, but you didn't even take care of your brother's people." That line froze the room, not because it was proven or disproven, but because it referenced long-standing claims and interviews that fans have debated for decades. Fat Joe has always denied wrongdoing and has consistently stated that he has shown respect and love toward Pun's legacy. But as always, the internet tends to latch onto dramatic narratives rather than complete context. Once 6ix9ine made that statement, fans started digging up old interviews, documentaries, photos, and legal documents, trying to see how much truth there might be behind any side of the story. And that's when things got messy, because 6ix9ine didn't just respond. He shifted the conversation toward the bigger idea of who gets to decide what real loyalty looks like. This wasn't just a diss, it was a direct challenge to Fat Joe's credibility in the context of the moral stance he often takes publicly. 6ix9ine used Joe's own message to question the consistency behind it, and whether people liked 6ix9ine or not, many admitted that his angle sparked a real debate. As soon as the comment about Big Pun's son went viral, reactions online were immediately split. Some people felt 6ix9ine was exposing something that the culture has questioned for years, while others believed he was simply stirring attention. Either way, the conversation was already out of control, and people began revisiting Fat Joe's public image with new scrutiny. The image Fat Joe built over decades started getting examined from every angle, and 6ix9ine didn't stop. He continued pointing to interviews where members of Pun's family expressed feeling disappointed or claiming they did not receive what they believed they were owed. Those interviews have existed publicly for years, and every time the topic resurfaces, fans jump back into analyzing the details. Fat Joe, on the other hand, has spoken multiple times about his respect for Pun and has firmly rejected any idea that he neglected the family. He has stated that he has always tried to honor Pun's legacy. But 6ix9ine argued that respect isn't only about words, it's about actions, and that's what made his message resonate with some listeners. Then 6ix9ine took it further by saying that Fat Joe shouldn't try to act like the judge of the streets while dealing with controversies of his own. That statement alone triggered waves of reactions online. At that point, the conversation grew bigger than Pun or 6ix9ine. It became about the concept of moral authority in hip-hop. And even though a lot of people don't like 6ix9ine, his comments touched a nerve. For the first time, the person labeled a rat was pushing back against people seen as the real ones. And he did it in a way that made some fans reassess long-held narratives. There have been claims circulating for years suggesting that Big Pun's family felt they weren't receiving the royalties they expected from his catalog. Fat Joe has said publicly that he gave them $1 million, but Pun's wife contradicted that statement in interviews. She even pursued legal action regarding the matter. From publicly available information, some reports suggest the case may have been resolved through some form of agreement, while others state there were still unresolved issues. The details vary depending on the source.
And so we find ourselves in situations like Liza Rios has with Joe Cartagena, Fat Joe, where, you got to file a lawsuit to figure out what actually happened and to find out where is the money. So today, although Fat Joe's lawyers originally filed an answer in the case, they subsequently filed a motion to dismiss, as did Jelly's Jams, not claiming that they don't owe any money, but just making technical legal arguments that basically saying that Liza can't sue them for one reason or another. We feel pretty good about the hearing. There was a hearing that took place today, oral arguments for our side and for Jelly's Jams and Fat Joe to talk about why we believe that they should be kept in this case and why we believe that they basically had fiduciary duties, meaning a higher standard than a breach of contract standard, to pay Liza monies that were due her husband so that her family can benefit. You asked if it was a rehashing. Well, in some ways it's the same issue. The big question is, where's the money, right? So, and there's some new information has come to light just of late that is setting some light on what happened to the money. And so that's really why this lawsuit is being filed now. Over time, you're supposed to get royalties twice a year or whatever, and most of the time the accounts are saying they're unrecouped. So when an artist is getting statements that say they're unrecouped, there's really no reason for them to think that there should be money there. Right. In this particular case, we found the reason to believe that there really should be some more money there. And that is that we found out that in foreign territories overseas, that the writer splits are not properly reflected for the songs the way they should have been, and that's indicating that there was some money that was collected there that shouldn't have been collected. So that's where we're after. We're trying to pursue that. Actually, the important thing is that now artists are also getting paid for that money. ASCAP and BMI, the traditional, societies that collect money for songwriters, have been able to collect money for those streaming services and other, new technology types of.
What matters is that the accusations, counterclaims, and legal discussions have been part of the hip-hop community for decades. And the fact that there were such conflicting statements only fueled the debate further. According to some fans, if those accusations were true, it would raise very serious moral questions. Others insist the story is more complicated and that Joe has always maintained his innocence and commitment to Pun's legacy. So here's the real question. Did 6ix9ine simply highlight long-standing controversies that already existed? Or was he trying to stir attention by revisiting topics that fans have debated for years? Either way, the conversation has exploded again, and people are still arguing both sides passionately. Let me know what you think. Was 6ix9ine shedding light on something real? Or was he just adding fuel to the fire for attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't hold back. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share, and support the Mic Trip channel where we break down the biggest hip-hop stories every single week.